What is up, guys? It's your boy Briggs, and like always, welcome to All Day Anime. And I am so sorry for the delay, but the long-awaited Sacred Treasure video is finally here. And today I will be discussing each sacred treasure used by the members of the 7 Deadly Sins. I will be going over their history, unique abilities, and even some fun trivia. Not much is known of the sacred treasures, but according to King, Bartra Leones was the one who entrusted these weapons to the 7 Deadly Sins. King also stated that a sacred treasure allows the user to bring their power to its full potential. On that note, I think we should start off with the demon sword Lost Vein that is possessed by Meliodas. Lost Vein is a curved short sword with the dragon tattoo emblem engraved into its hilt, and 5 holes along the sharp blade. And as someone who once sold knives, holes are usually meant to decrease friction, allowing for a cleaner cut, and less food, or in this case, flesh, to be stuck to the blade afterwards. Lost Vein was entrusted to Meliodas by King Bartra, and was in Meliodas' possession until 10 years ago, when he sold it in order to raise money to open the boar hat. Merlin later bought it from a pawn shop in Camelot, and kept hold of it until she returned it to Meliodas during the Albion's attack. By saying the command Sacred Treasure Activate, Meliodas can use Lost Vein's ability Physical Clone. This is Lost Vein's special ability that allows Meliodas to create up to 4 clones of himself. Now, regardless of how many he creates, the clone's total power will equal half of Meliodas' power. For example, let's say Meliodas has a power level of 4000, then one clone would have a power level of 2000. But let's say he made 4 clones instead. That 2000 power level would be spread out along the 4 clones and be 500 each. Anyway, let's continue. Each physical clone is still able to use full counter to its full potential, as the attack focuses on the enemy's attack power rather than the one using the ability full counter. This allows Meliodas to use full counter multiple times on the same attack. Now, depending on the enemy and Meliodas' power level, it is also possible for him to use his clones to fight the enemy, dealing and taking damage without Meliodas himself getting involved in the battle, or simply using them as a decoy so that he could land the finishing blow. Also, fun facts, Lost Vein is the 4th sacred treasure to be revealed in the series, and Lost Vein was worth 1,000 gold pieces when Meliodas sold it in the market in Camelot. Now let's talk about Diane's sacred treasure Gideon, which was the 2nd revealed in the series. Gideon is a gigantic warhammer designed for a giant. It is as tall as Diane, its head is double-sided, with one side being a typical hammer and the other being a war pick. 10 years ago, Diane lost her Gideon. It was later found in a valley, and then ended up becoming one of the rewards for winning the Viso Fight Festival. Gideon, like the other sacred treasures, fully draws out Diane's powers. With it, Diane's ability to manipulate the earth is multiplied. In her first use of it, Diane completely destroyed the surrounding area and sent a mountain-sized boulder high in the air. Quick little break and reminder to smash that like button and that my Twitter link is down below. Anyway, let's continue. Next, let's talk about the Morningstar Alden, which is the sacred treasure belonging to the boar's sin of gluttony Merlin, and was the 5th sacred treasure to be revealed in the series. Alden is a small crystal orb that appears in Merlin's hand when summoned, and floats around her palm. Many of Alden's abilities have yet to be seen, but so far, it was seen being used in conjunction with Merlin's telekinesis and can display locations whenever Merlin wishes to look into it. It is also used to fire Merlin's Exterminate Ray spell, a spell where Merlin fires a disintegration beam, incinerating everything in the line of fire. Merlin can even transfer her soul into Alden, which can be very useful in specific situations where the user's body may be in great danger. Alden is also named after Merlin's mother in Welsh mythology, while the title Morningstar refers to the devil's true name, Lucifer. Next on the list, we have the Holy Staff Korchels, which is the sacred treasure belonging to the Fox's Sin of Greed, Bon. Korchels appears as a 4-section staff with the ends as spikes. After the 7 Deadly Sins dispersed 10 years ago, Korchels was stolen from Bon when he was taken into custody by the Weird Fangs. Korchels is the only sacred treasure that is not currently in possession of its owner, and fun fact, in Arthurian mythology, Korchels is the name of King Bon's sword. Next up, let's talk about the twin bow Herit, which is the sacred treasure belonging to the goat's sin of lust, Gother. It is also the 3rd sacred treasure revealed in the series. Herit is a pair of luminous purple energy bows that appear at Gother's will. They are not fired in the conventional sense where one would need 2 hands in order to hold and draw the bow, but are instead magically drawn, allowing them to be fired in tandem. Herit allows Gowther to utilize invasion to its full ability by greatly extending the range of his power. This is shown when he uses it to rewrite the memories of dozens of Holy Knights during the 7 Deadly Sins infiltration of the kingdom. And during his confrontation with Diane, he summoned Herit to render anyone with a spirit level below 400 within a 3-mile radius unconscious. He can also use automatic tracking mode. By resting one hand over the other, he forms a cross with the Herit. The technique he uses in conjunction with this mode allows Gowther to automatically lock onto a target. He can also use the combined technique Celestial Arrow, a combined attack that involves using the Spirit Chastifol as the arrow and using the twin bow Herit as the bow. And the next sacred treasure is for my favorite member of the 7 Deadly Sins. It is the Divine Axe Rita, which is the sacred treasure in possession of the Lion Sin of Pride, Escanor. Rita is a giant ornamental axe with a blade shaped like a crescent moon. Its design specs and distribution of weight are likely intentionally off. Most of the weight is concentrated in the head, leaving it off balance, and even more difficult to wield than its impressive weight would already make it. Now, Escanor emits a crazy amount of heat during the day, and with his sacred treasure, he can use the technique Charge and Fire. Rita's specialty is to completely absorb and store the enormous amount of heat that Escanor radiates from his body during the day. This allows him to release the heat on command and with precision, instead of simply burning away everything in his vicinity. By saying the command Sacred Treasure Release, Escanor can release all the power he has stored in Rita in an instant. The release is accompanied by an incredible wave of light and heat, illuminating the night sky, causing onlookers to mistake it for the sun itself. He can call it to himself at will, and it will travel at incredible speeds through the sky to reach him. And for some fun trivia, Rita is named after a young maiden loved by the sun. Despite its large size and weight of its head, Rita is a one-handed weapon, and Rita is the heaviest of all sacred treasures. And last but definitely not least, we have the Spirit Spear Chastifol, which is King's sacred treasure, and a holy weapon crafted from the sacred tree found only in the fairy realm. The reason I left this one for last is because it has 10 different forms that I will explain. Even though it has 10 different forms, it frequently appears as a green pillow that King carries with him. During combat, it often transforms into a long, broad spear. Each of its forms also has a true form that King is able to unleash for even more power. The spear is much stronger than steel and has the mysterious qualities of the sacred tree, which King's ability Disaster draws out. It is capable of regenerating itself after being split in two or into pieces. Some of its different forms include the pillow I mentioned earlier, which can actually act as a shield. The next form is the main spear Chastifol, which King frequently uses in conjunction with his levitation ability to perform basic ranged attacks. It also acts as a homing weapon, continuously following and dodging enemies and cornering them. The next form, Guardian, Chastifol takes on the form of a large, stuffed bear by shape-shifting the moss that grows along its body. While in this form, the moss body will parry any physical attack, but can also be directly controlled by King to fight or immobilize enemies with its 4 arms. Due to the high water concentration within the moss, it is highly resistant to fire, but because of this quality, it bears a weakness against cold and freezing attacks. He can also use the form Fossilization. This form of Chastifol is a twin-headed spear, with a spearhead shaped like the claws of a crab. This form has the ability to petrify an individual when stabbed, rendering them unable to move and immobilized as a statue even if they are still alive. It also has the form Sunflower, a gigantic shoot emerges from the earth, towering over enemies, as a flower bud blooms and shoots several projectiles that are capable of a great amount of destruction. The next form is Increase. An army of small kunai-like spears are multiplied. Their individual trajectories are controlled by King, at will, through simple motioning and gesturing of his hands. And there is Fight Fire with Fire, which is a part of this technique. It focuses all the small blades that comprise Chastifol into a single downward strike against an opponent. The next form is Lumosity. Chastifol transforms into a luminescent, ringed spear that illuminates the surrounding area. It can act as a torch that allows the user to easily see in dark places. And the final form is Pollen Garden. A large barrier is formed around a person and is capable of withstanding even the most powerful attacks. The barrier is made of pollen from the sacred tree, which has the capabilities of slowly healing and getting rid of pain completely. Also, Chastifol is the first sacred treasure to be seen, and in a medieval French story, King Arthur's sword Excalibur is renamed as Chastifol. And let's end off with a quick little Briggs Q before the end of this video. Oh, hi there, why not consider subscribing for more all-day anime? The question is by Blaze McDonald, hashtag Briggs Q. How did you find the 7 Deadly Sins? And also, I'm a subscriber because you are bloody brilliant, Harry. I added the Harry part. So yeah, one day I was on Netflix, just browsing the anime, and I saw the 7 Deadly Sins. Actually, it was pretty heavily advertised to me. Gave it a chance. Honestly, I was pretty drawn in just off the first episode, and then eventually I just fell in love with the series, watched the entire show, read the entire manga. Yeah, no, I love it. And that's kind of why I really wished they brought the season 2 of 7 Deadly Sins to Netflix a little bit sooner, just because we'd be bringing in so many more anime fans. Oh, look at the time! This video is over 10 minutes. See y'all next time. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. But anyway, that is the end of this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to smash that like button to let me know. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell to never miss a video. Subscribe for more all-day anime and more 7 Deadly Sins content. And just like that, I will see you guys all next time, dudes. Shinpaku.